Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is kind of a rehash of a video I shot about a year ago when I went out to the Oregon Trail and flew the drone over the trail down to near the Boise Valley where the settlers and the pioneers migrated until they came to La Bois, the Valley of the Trees. That was a very popular video. I think I got the most reviews or views of that video, including an elementary teacher somewhere in this country who discovered the video and recommended it to his students who viewed the video and sent me some very nice emails thanking me for that video. So I decided it's a beautiful place to fly. And so I went out again here a week or so ago. There was a little light snow left. And I was looking for a Conestoga wagon or a prairie schooner that might have gotten stuck in the mud, but, didn't find one. But anyway, I had a nice day and a good flight. So I'm going to narrate this with a little more history, so I hope you enjoy it. And please subscribe to the channel. And leave comments. In order to get better, you got to have some criticism. So anyway, give it your best shot. So anyway, I'll see you down the road, and I hope you enjoy today's video. Well, the Western migration really started after a monumental event when Lewis and Clark left Washington, D.C. in 1804 and returned back in 1806 with tales of majestic mountains and lakes and streams and wild game and fertile soil. I think that news got around, and many people in the East, some of them single men, got on their horseback and ventured west. One of those that's recorded in history is a guy by the name of Nathan Wyatt, who really was a missionary. And the missionaries played a big role in the development of the Oregon Trail, as you'll see. Nathan Wyatt headed from the northeast and headed west and made it to Daniel, Wyoming, which was kind of an outpost for early people coming west on the east slope of the Rocky Mountains, and which was a formidable passage back in those days. But he returned back to the east and reported his findings, and a gentleman named Marcus Whitman heard of his trip, another Protestant minister and a missionary and a doctor. He was a physician as well. So he headed west and made it to Daniel, Wyoming. Didn't make it over the Rockies as far as I know at that time, and then returned back east and married a woman named Narcissa, who became Narcissa Whitman. Well, with his young family, wife, etc., they loaded up their wagons and headed west and made it back to Daniel, Wyoming after a several-month journey. And then finally took on the rugged mountains of the Rockies, following Massachusetts, the Bay Company, Hudson Bay Company trails and Indian trails as guides, and other miners and trappers who had been in the area. And so they made it over the Rocky Mountains and settled in the valley of the Walla Wallas, where the Cayuse Indians lived. And they set up an encampment and made residence there, intending to spread the news of the gospel to the Cayuse Indians. Well, apparently they were running out of funds, and so Marcus got on his horse and went all the way back to the northeast, got some funds, and came back to the mission, where, again, they continued their ministry to the Cayuse Indians. Well, all was going pretty well, but news of the passage over the Rocky Mountains and the Oregon Trail was starting to be developed. And there were quite a number of people that came and settled in the Walla Walla Valley, and then other folks moved on to Oregon City, where the trail ended. Anyway, the Cayuse Indians got a little resentful of these people moving in and taking over their territory, and began to have little rebellions here and there, and were quite upset with the Marcus Whitman group. Well, so the Cayuse got a little upset over all these folks coming in, and so they were a little less friendly towards the missionaries who were there to try to convert them. Well, 1843 brought a huge caravan. It's estimated 150 wagons and 1,000 people came west, and many of them stayed at the Whitman Mission, but the unfortunate thing of it is they brought the scourge and the plague of measles. Many of the pioneers were ill, but the Indians were very ill, probably having never seen any infestation of viral infection like that. Many of them died. In fact, a whole slew of the Cayuse Indians died, and they'd had enough. So they attacked the Marcus Whitman Mission, killed Marcus and Narcissa and a number of other missionaries in a slaughter that is monumentized, I guess that's a good word, by the Whitman Mission that's south of my hometown, Walla Walla College Place, and exists today. I visited there a couple of years ago, and still a pretty sacred place. Anyway, that's the story of the missionaries' involvement in the in the Oregon Trail. It's time to roll the videos and show you what it looks like today. So here we go. So this is the Oregon Trail that began in Independence, Missouri, and wandered some 2,100 miles until it reached Oregon City, Oregon. This is the trail through the states of the Northwest. Notice Idaho, Fort Hall, winding its way along the Columbia River, and this is where we came through, actually, Idaho itself. That's estimated about 300,000 people traveled on that trail over. So this is the terrain they traveled across Idaho. The Oregon Trail. East part of
nothing but desert
approaching the Boise Valley.
Here and there.
Look at the arroyos and ravines and rocks and topography that they had to traverse to get to the Boise Valley. And this is where they were headed, the Boise Valley, crossing the Boise River, and establishing settlements along the Boise River in the 1800s. If you look at that black area, quite a ways over in the distance, that's the rocks on the other side and the canyon on the other side of the Boise River, which they had to cross to get to Boise.
So there's the trail right there. With all the ruts, still ruts in it. Yeah, a little snowy, a little hard to see. But it went down this trail here.
And then you put the drone up in the air, and this is what we do. We follow the trail all the way down to the Boise River and even parts of the present-day Lucky Peak Dam and Lucky Peak Reservoir. So a rutted trail, but they had to pick all this safe journey to stay out of the ravines and formations of rock, etc. That pick a smooth trail with their scouts to get all the way down to the Boise River. I think we're about 8 miles away from the actual river where the trees are in the center of Boise. Obviously a big stopping off place for folks traveling. Not far from here is a place called Farewell Bend. It's probably a 2-day journey, well, maybe more than that, a 3-day journey for these pioneers. And at that point, some folks in the caravan were headed to California, so they headed south, and others were headed on to Oregon and parts of Washington, etc. And many of them obviously stayed and pioneered in Boise itself. In the 1800s, gold was discovered in the Owyhee Mountains to the south, and also at a place called Idaho City, about 40 miles up in the hills to the north and west or east of Boise. And Boise began to thrive as a settlement and an outpost, providing provisions for these miners who came in and looked for their fortune in gold. Excuse me, in the mountains of Idaho. There's the cut of the Boise River off to our right, and there is the Boise River from a drone's eye view. We flew right over to it, and this is obviously below Lucky Peak Dam, and I think the crossing area, I've searched for it with the drone. It's a little hard to see, but I think it's in the foreground down there where it bends big to the right. There are a few settlement, it looks like, along that area as well. So the Boise River, and then not far to Boise, Idaho itself. Look at these canyons around that area. Trails at the bottom. I don't know where they lead to, but obviously we're heading north. Those ravines and in the foothills are so beautiful at nighttime or towards dusk with the shadows. They almost turn color. And there's Lucky Peak, flying over the hills towards Lucky Peak. So I think we're getting to the end of this little revisit to the Oregon Trail, and I hope you again enjoyed it and learned a little history. One of the things the drone has brought to me is a interest in Idaho history, and if I can relay that to you so you can learn more about our great state, that's all the better. So I'll say goodbye, and I'll see you down the road.